Hi, Albie Morkel. Very warm welcome to Championz Online with Suhaas Vedham.
Thank you very much. Good to chat to you.
So, how's the lockdown treating you? What are you up to these days?
As you know, lockdown is lockdown. You sit at home, so not as active as normal. I'm obviously involved with the Namibian cricket side, and we had to sort of think out of the box to keep the guys busy. We're preparing for a World Cup in October, which at this stage is still going ahead. So yeah, we've been busy on all the online platforms like Zoom to have interactive chats with the guys, still do their fitness, and we've started recently to do live nets where we sort of monitor the guys over Zoom. Yeah.
Picked up any new hobbies?
New hobbies? I've actually started reading again. I don't know if that's a hobby. I mean, that's just sometimes people like to read, and in the past I sort of stopped doing that because I like to be outdoors and active. So I've started reading again during the lockdown. It just kept me busy a bit. Also eating is a habit now. And I can't wait to break that habit and get active again.
After some time off the cricket field, you were back in India, and you were one of the youngest members in the side that you were playing for, isn't it? So how was that experience?
It was an amazing experience. I think I retired a year and a half ago and didn't play at all. And when that opportunity came along to play in India, in that World Series, Road Safety Series, it was something that I really looked forward to. They struggled for a year or so to get it off the ground. Various reasons, guys not all available at the same time. And I suppose sponsor commitments, but we eventually got to India again, and unfortunately it was cut short because of the coronavirus. But I think the tournament was a major success. Even the 1 or 2 weeks we spent there, the games where India played in was all sold out, so 40,000 people. And for us retired players, you never expect that. Very enjoyable. Yes, I was the youngest, but we didn't have, if you take the average age of our side, we were all like sort of 39, 40, 41. We didn't have any real old players except for Jonty, who was 50, but he's still in fantastic shape and he's still very fit. So it was a great experience, and hopefully we can either finish that tournament or restart a new tournament, because I think everyone enjoyed it.
Time and again, Jonty proves that age is just a number, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's as fit as ever. I never had the opportunity to play a lot of cricket with him when he was still playing. I mean, he retired at a very young age. He was only 34. But he certainly still has all the skills. He keeps himself fit through cricket, so I suppose that helps a little bit. He throws and he hits balls and stuff like that. So he's not completely out of cricket. But yeah, what a nice guy to be around. And like I said, I didn't get many opportunities to play with him as a youngster, and to have this opportunity to play with him as a retired player was as good.
Now, you were born in a cricketing family per se. Everybody loved to watch the game. So did that help in levitating towards picking up the bat and ball first up, or did you ponder about, and did you think about picking up any other sporting equipment as well?
Look, I do play other sports. I was born in an Afrikaans house, that's our language, and cricket and rugby are two major sports that we played. So I played both, and I still play golf and tennis. Every sport that includes or involves a ball, I really enjoy playing. But like you said, at my house, my father played some first-class cricket, and I've got an older brother. He played first-class cricket and for South African schools, and myself, and then we've got Morna as well, as who's also played lots of international cricket. So yes, we grew up in a cricket mad house, and once you realise you've got enough talent to sort of try and make it a career, which was probably when I was 17 or 18 years old. It was just cricket from then on. I never went to the university and studied, which I probably should have done, but I had a nice long 20 careers playing professional sport.
20th February 2004, Albie Morkel gets the ODI cap. So how was that experience? up against New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand in Wellington, I remember that. I was still young, I was 22, something like that. Look, it's always nice to have that opportunity to say, in hindsight, I probably was picked when I was a little bit too young.
Okay.
I know I remember I had a very good domestic season back home as a young player, but to play international cricket, it's a different beast, and you need to be prepared mentally and physically for that. And if I look back on it now, I was probably not ready. But yeah, it was a great experience. Play international cricket. We played against New Zealand in New Zealand, and we got beaten comprehensively. So, the tour sort of doesn't stand out as a very successful one. I think we lost 6-1 or 5-1 or whatever the score was. And as you know, in international cricket, if you lose like 5 or 6 in a row, it becomes a very dark place. So I think. It was a dream come true to play for your country, but also the realization after that was that it's a very tough place to compete and to earn a living.
When you first entered the South African dressing room, were there fanboy moments when you first entered?
Look, I think as a young player, like I said, I was 22, and guys that I looked up when I was a young kid, if you talk about guys that's like 10 years older than me, they were all still in the side. Lance Klusener was playing, Pollock was playing, Herschel Gibbs was in the side, Callis was in the side. They were all established international players. So I think at first you sort of walk in there and you don't really know your place. You're very nervous all the time around those guys. You're actually more nervous being around those guys than actually playing the game. And I think as a youngster, that's your first biggest challenge is to be accepted in that team at first. I think once you can master that feeling or get those butterflies under control, the second thing that you worry about is actually playing. That's how I experienced it. You always play to impress those guys, and if you don't impress them, you feel very vulnerable around them. So that is a major challenge.
We know ABD as the teammate of Albie Morkel. Tell us a bit about ABD, the roommate of Albie Morkel. There was a phase.
Yeah, we used to stay together in a house. Myself, AB and Morne lived together for about 4 years or 5 years. That was in the early stages of our careers. I was obviously the oldest. I was about 24, and then they would be 20, 21, whatever. So we spent a couple of years together in Pretoria, where we played for the Titans.
Must be overjoyed with the way AB de Villiers has gone on with a stamp of authority in international cricket.
That was always going to be his path. As a young boy, when he arrived at Nets for the first time, you could see that he was a special talent. And he just had that X factor around him that other players lack. And that's why he became, or still is, one of the best in the world. He's got that X factor ability to play those amazing knocks, to take the games away from people with a bat, to have that special catch in the outfield, or to create that. He's just the X factor player, and I think that's sort of separated him from all the other youngsters that came through at that stage.
I've got something for you here. First thing that comes to your mind when you see this.
Yeah, I remember that photo. That was in Australia. After we won that ODI series in 2009. Yes. Special occasion. I think I got man of the series in that tournament. And we were actually a very young side that outplayed a very strong Australian side. So, we were very happy. And to share the field and those memories with a family members also very special. Morne, he was still sort of, he wasn't a senior member of the team yet. So, we had a very young bowling attack. Him, Dale, Tsotsolo still played. And like I said, we competed against a very strong Australian side and absolutely, demolished them in their backyard. It's also the first time that South Africa won a series in Australia. So it was a big moment for us.
Now, you and Morne have a go at each other. So you keep pulling each other's leg, don't you? Especially the tweet, if I remember, that you had tweeted out when Morne retired. that little story with the coach?
When he first started playing for the Titans, he had a small contract
Okay.
in terms of what he earned, and the first thing he bought was a car. So he went to the coach and he asked him if he can have more petrol money. So the coach actually said, no, he must sell his car and buy himself a bicycle to drive to training now.
You've represented 4 teams in the IPL. Is it a no-brainer to ask you which franchise is closest to your heart?
No, I think it's quite obvious. My time at CSK was, I spent there 6 years there, so that's obviously going to be the team that I still support and that I enjoyed to play the most for. Never had the opportunity to sort of experience what other teams are all about. I moved around every season to a different team, and never could find my feet again. So definitely playing for CSK, was special. We were very successful as a team. In my time there, we won the IPL twice and the Champions League twice. Plus, we played in, I think, every final for every year of the IPL. So, it was special memories. We had a strong team. Obviously, I had the opportunity to play under Dhoni. And stuff that I will remember forever.
So what sets Dhoni apart as a skipper? And do you feel more settled in the CSK side? Reason being, he doesn't chop and change much. Does it help as a player?
No, for sure. I think that's the biggest thing as a player. If you can play in any team where you feel you've got opportunities to more than one opportunity to make an impact on the side, and then when you feel backed by your teammates and team players, I think that's what any player strive for in a team, and I think that's what makes CSK successful until today. Even if you look at the 11 today, they don't chop and change every game. Maybe with conditions they'll bring in an extra spinner or extra seamer or extra batsman, but they don't chop and change their side, and that's one of the main reasons why they've been the best side in the IPL, certainly for the last 12 years. I think what sets Dhoni apart from, or makes him unique as a captain is, he knows how to stay calm. I'm sure he's someone that feels a lot of pressure. Being MS Dhoni in India, there's lots of eyeballs on you. So I think he's got this amazing ability to appear calm all the time. He leads by example. How many games has he won for Chennai on his own? So that's a big strong point of his. And then he knows how to get the best out of his players. He doesn't treat every player the same. He's got the ability to interact with every player in a unique way according to his personality. So I think that's a big strength of his.
Now, if you have to look back at the final in 2010, Pollard has just smoked Bollinger for about 22, I think. 33 required of 12, and Albie Morkel gets the ball in hand. There's a little talk with Matthew Hayden, and an unorthodox field is set. Next thing you know, Pollard is caught at somewhere in mid-on or mid-off. Yeah?
Mid-off,
yeah, mid-off.
Our plan to Pollard was to bowl wide Yorkers, especially when at the death when he was going ballistic. So MS came up to me and said, "Albie, if you're going to hit your wide Yorker, then short fine leg is not in play. So let's try and put him somewhere where the ball might go to." So we had a quick discussion and said, if I hit my wide Yorker and I get it slightly wrong, he's probably going to hit me either straight back at me or just over my head. So that area. So we try to protect that area for sort of a miss hit, And the position we came up with was a guy almost straight behind me, but just to the left of me, on the circle. And I think 2 balls later, he hit the ball straight to Matthew Hayden, who was fielding there, which was a great moment, and something that we never planned before the time. It was planned right there in the moment, and it's awesome when stuff like that works.
What does Dhoni talk about in the huddle during the crunch moments?
Look, I think the main thing he tries to get across is just to back yourself, back your skills. Bowl your best ball, or back your best ball if that's a wide Yorker in a crunch situation. To back that ability, to back that that ball. Don't have too many options and stuff like that. He just reaffirms that you're good enough to be in that situation, and I think it tries to calm you down as a person as well.
Must be heartwarming to see young talents from South Africa representing IPL teams. Talk about Rabada and Giri.
Yes, it's always nice to see. You know, I would have liked it if there was more young players in the IPL. I think we had more players in the past, but there's not as many South African coaches taking part in coaching roles. So we see less and less South African players. But it's always nice. It's one of the series or tournaments that I follow almost every game. I enjoy watching the IPL. I think the standard of cricket is pretty high, and most of the times there's exciting games. So yes, it's always nice to watch, and even better if there's some of your teammates or friends playing.
When Bravo entered the CSK side, you had to share your load of death bowling. Did it really help? What were your chats with Bravo?
Yeah, so when Bravo came on, at first he didn't bowl in the death, but he then developed himself to be one of the best death bowlers in the world. I think in T20 cricket, if you can perfect that role, there's definitely you'll be picked in many sides, because not many bowlers want to take that responsibility upon themselves. So if you quickly think around the world, the best death bowlers in T20 cricket is probably Malinga, who's been there for ages, and Bravo, who's now taking that responsibility for the last 5-6 years, and they're very good at it. So it's a speciality role. It's like batting at the death, or facing the new ball. It's the same with death bowling. You can't just go there and think you're gonna be successful if you don't really practice the art of death bowling.
Now, all that time with CSK, hanging around with Russell as well, the manager, picked up any Tamil words?
I used to. They only taught me swear words, so I can't repeat it.
Oh, okay. All right. So there was a bit of sledging in the IPL as well?
No, it was just banter. No staging.
Now, you talk about 2009, because when you talk about IPL, you're thinking about preparing your body for conditions like altitude in Dharamshala, sweltering heat for a 4 p.m. start in Chennai, and suddenly you've been asked to play in Kingsmead. You're playing in Supersport Park. You're playing in Wanderers. So did the IPL team, your franchise, look up to you and say, hang on, Albie, this can be your kind of conditions here?
I think it doesn't really matter where you play. The guys are so good these days that you have to adapt to all conditions. I think it's probably a little bit easier for batsmen in India, because you play on better wickets in terms of bounce and stuff like that. If you play on wickets that's slow, yes, it becomes more difficult, but at least your bounce with a new ball and seamless bowl are mostly consistent. Where in South Africa, it's a little bit up and down. It's steeper bounce, so yes, the Indian players might struggle a bit more. But the guys are good enough to adapt, and I think that's what happened. We saw some good games in South Africa as well, even though it was sort of late season. The wickets weren't as flat as they can be. But yeah, it's still a good experience to have the IPL in South Africa.
Now that you're coaching Namibia, how is this second innings of yours going? And is there any player that we need to watch out for?
At first off, I struggled a little bit.
Okay.
Not so much doing the job. I really enjoy it, but it's as a player, you think differently, or you watch the game differently than when you're coaching. So to get used to that, when I speak to guys, to speak to them as sort of a coach, not as a player, as a captain or whatever. You use different phrases. You approach players differently and stuff like that. So at first, that was my challenge to get used to. But once you get the hang of it, it's actually quite enjoyable. And like I said, you watch the game completely differently. You look for trends, you look for patterns, you look for guys not backing up, stuff like that in the field. So it is challenging, but also it's very satisfying. When you put in a lot of hard work and the team does well, you get great satisfaction out of that. And the plus point, I suppose, it's not as stressful as well. You can only take the players, prepare the players as much, and then it's up to them to perform on the field.
Any player to watch out for?
We've got some good players. Our captain Gerard Erasmus, he was player of the tournament in the World Cup qualifiers. We've got another good all-rounder, JJ Smith, who's a good player. We've got a strong batsman, JP Kotze. We've got a youngster, Nicol Lofty-Eaton, who's going to come through the ranks. He's a very talented player. I would think that those will be the names that you'll probably hear during the T20 World Cup.
Now we have a rapid fire for you. As simple as answering as quickly as possible. The first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, Albie. Who was pampered more? Morkel, Albie Morkel?
Morne.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, he's the last child. He's my mother's favourite.
Okay. Favorite cricket ground?
Super Sport Park, Pretoria, and Cape Town.
Favorite innings of Albie Morkel?
Most satisfying was probably that 28 I hit of Virat Kohli.
Well, yeah, that made you something else over here, didn't it? Now, what's tougher, bowling to Pollard in the death or handling the tantrums of Kara and AJ?
No, it's definitely bowling to Pollard. That stuff you get nightmares about.
Okay. Now, one word, if you could describe these players in one word, what would it be? MSD.
Magician.
Virat.
Ooh. Class.
Steve Smith.
Resilience.
Graham Smith.
Tough.
Sachin Tendulkar.
The best.
ABD.
Oh, Mr. 360.
Jack Callis.
He's going to be Mr. Cricket.
Mr. Cricket for you. All right. Then what would you call Mr. Michael Hussey? He played with you.
Yeah, I know. What was the score? Intensity.
Intensity. All right. Morkel.
Gentle giant.
Last but definitely not the least, Albie Morkel.
The beast.
Thank you very much, Albie, for joining us. I think it is wonderful. It is a pleasure for me, of course, and I really hope you enjoy being on Championz Online with Suhaas Vedham. Thank you very much. Any message to your fans before you leave?
All right, Suhaas, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Yes, good luck to everyone still fighting the COVID virus in India, and thanks for the support. And hopefully I can get out to India again. It's a place that I really enjoy touring and playing. So hopefully I can get out there, and even as an old man, and entertain you guys.
No, again, you're very far away from being an old man, and I think someone like Jonty has already showed that to you. Thank you very much, Albie, for being with us.
All right,
Take
so
care.